Alright, I have a video from a great channel, Around the Nation, with Jeff Waldoff, which will be the perfect build-up to then go around the world and compare the COVID strategies of our two countries. Let's go.
The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently changed its position on quarantines after the CEO of an airliner sent them a letter. So now the newest CDC guidelines have shortened the isolation period for those with COVID-19 from 10 days to just 5 days. So now CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said that this decision was following the science. Oh yes, it's the science. However, it's also in part to keep the critical functions of society open and operating. Meaning, of course, essentially business. Business. But here's the rest of her quote. We started to see challenges with airline flights and other areas. We started first by doing the healthcare workers last week to make sure that we could keep our hospitals functioning safely and open. Now, the real reason for the change, of course, as I just mentioned, the CDC's decision came just days after Delta Airlines CEO sent Walensky a letter advocating for a shorter isolation period. In the letter, CEO Ed Bastian, along with the airline's medical advisor and chief health officer, asked Walensky to consider shortening the isolation period to 5 days for those who experience breakthrough infection. With the rapid spread of Omicron variant, the 10-day isolation for those who are fully vaccinated may significantly impact our workforce and operations, the Delta officials write.
So because an airline wrote a letter, your recommended quarantine time became shorter. Yeah, well, for some reason here, the way we're gonna deal with this new variant is by saying you need to be in your house with somebody for 4 hours before you should consider yourself exposed to COVID.
You're only a close contact if you are effectively living with someone or being in an accommodation setting with someone more than 4 hours with someone who has actually got COVID.
Virus doesn't understand definitions. So it doesn't care whether someone's exposed for 15 minutes or 4 hours, okay? It's still an exposure. So the new changes will probably ultimately result in more people being infected.
But the business community welcomed the change. They say the previous close contact rules were a handbrake on recovery, particularly here in the city. For those struggling to survive, fewer people in isolation as close contacts means more available workers and customers.
You know how this variant has spread really fast because it's very contagious? Yeah, well, Australia just decided, nah, here it's not contagious. You're going to have to sit with someone for 4 hours before you catch the Omicron variant.
We're concerned about this 4 hours. We understand the change in the definition, but there's a lot of confusion now about workplaces. A whole lot of people spend more time at work than they do at home. They're in closer contact with people in the workplace than they are at home. But the definition yesterday only talked about 4 hours or more at home or in residential settings. So this is something that needs to be addressed. Employers need to keep workers safe, and we need to have an answer about what this means in terms of how long people can be close contacts in the workplace.
And most shifts are longer than 4 hours up there. Michelle, we appreciate your time this morning. Wish you a very happy new year.
Oh yeah, and you can only catch it at home after 4 hours. It's insane. Like, I actually would prefer the Delta Air CDC recommendations of 5 days than what the Australian federal government's doing.